So think about the egg you might ovulate next Tuesday. It actually started its journey to maturation roughly 120 days ago.
Right, yeah, a full third of a year.
Exactly. I mean, it's been waking up from this dormant state, growing, and absorbing everything in its surrounding biological environment for all those months.
Which is, a massive amount of time in terms of cellular development.
Right. So when you sit in a clinic and hear a doctor suggest that, like, egg quality is the roadblock to your fertility, it is completely terrifying. But it's also a timeline issue, isn't it?
It absolutely is. I mean, we tend to view ovulation or an egg retrieval as this isolated, instantaneous event. You take a trigger shot and boom, the egg is ready.
Yeah, like it just magically appears.
Exactly. But in reality, we're looking at the finish line of a biological marathon.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because today's mission is to really look at the intersection of fertility, egg quality, and acupuncture. We're using this really insightful article from the Berkeley Center titled Optimizing Egg Development and Quality Through Fertility Acupuncture.
And to really understand what those clinical protocols achieve, we have to look past the anecdotal success stories. We have to deconstruct that shorthand phrase, egg quality, and understand the actual biological reality behind it.
Because it's thrown around on fertility forums like, I don't know, like a permanent grade on a biological report card.
Right. It sounds like a single metric, like, oh, here's your number on a blood test.
But it's not, is it? It's a whole cascade of potential.
Yeah, exactly. In clinical practice, egg quality means asking a series of questions. How likely is this specific egg to mature properly? Will it fertilize? Will it develop into a healthy embryo and, result in a viable pregnancy?
I mean, it sounds like we're talking about farming. You can't just look at the seed, right? You have to look at the soil, the water, the sunlight.
That is a perfect analogy. The cascade relies on the genetic blueprint of the egg itself, yes, but also the microenvironment in which it matures.
But let's be real here for a second. Can acupuncture actually turn back the biological clock or, create new eggs? Because people desperately want to know that.
What's fascinating here is that the answer is a hard no. Acupuncture is not a magic fix. A needle inserted into the skin cannot rewrite DNA or, correct chromosomal abnormalities inside an existing egg. You are born with your lifetime supply.
Right. So we aren't changing the DNA, which means the clinical value has to lie in altering that microenvironment, the soil, basically.
Exactly. It aims to improve the environment in which a cohort of eggs matures over the months before they are ovulated or retrieved.
So if we're trying to improve the soil, we really need to know what physiological factors acupuncture is actually influencing. I mean, what are the pathways?
Well, the reproductive environment, your soil, is comprised of ovarian blood flow, baseline inflammation, your endocrine balance, and metabolic health.
Okay, so let's start with blood flow. The source talks a lot about hemodynamics.
Right, ovarian and pelvic blood flow. The developing follicles, which are those fluid-filled structures housing the eggs, they need a massive blood supply.
Because they need oxygen and nutrients to produce energy, right?
Yes. The mitochondria inside the egg dictate its quality. To produce energy for cellular division, those mitochondria require a relentless delivery of oxygen.
But how does a tiny needle in, like your lower leg or your back, actually change blood flow deep inside the pelvis? It's not like you're just poking a vein.
No. It relies on somatovisceral reflexes.
Okay, wait, what does that mean?
So when an acupuncture needle stimulates a specific sensory nerve in the skin or muscle, that signal travels to the spinal cord. And those peripheral nerves often share the same nerve roots as the autonomic nerves connected to your internal organs, like the uterus and ovaries.
Oh, wow. So you're basically hacking the nervous system's wiring board.
Exactly. You're using a peripheral input to modulate the autonomic nervous system. It drops a sympathetic tone, which relaxes the smooth muscle around the pelvic blood vessels.
Which causes vasodilation.
Right, a widening of the arteries, which effectively increases that perfusion of blood, oxygen, and nutrients to the maturing follicles.
Okay, that makes total sense for the oxygen requirement. But increasing blood flow is only good if the blood isn't carrying, a massive inflammatory load. And the source mentions endometriosis specifically here.
Yeah, endometriosis fundamentally alters this dynamic. It isn't just a pain diagnosis. It creates a highly hostile microenvironment.
Right, because of the ectopic tissue lesions bleeding inside the pelvic cavity.
Exactly. It triggers an immune response. The body sends out macrophages and cytokines, basically turning the pelvic fluid into an inflammatory soup.
Oh, wow. An inflammatory soup. That sounds awful.
It causes severe oxidative stress. It's essentially cellular rust. And that rust damages the structural integrity of the egg and impairs the mitochondria.
So the acupuncture strategy isn't just pain management for endo, it's about reducing that inflammatory burden, trying to clear the cellular rust.
Yes. It's a crucial indirect strategy to improve egg competence and embryo quality.
Which ties directly into stress physiology too. And I have to say, I bet patients are so tired of hearing that they just need to relax to get pregnant. I mean, isn't that terrible advice?
It is the absolute worst. I strongly agree. Infertility is not caused by a failure to relax.
Right. Just taking a deep breath isn't going to unblock a fallopian tube.
Exactly. However, we do have to look at the chronic stress that infertility itself induces. Months or years of negative tests, hormonal medications, the financial burden. It triggers a persistent activation of the HPA axis.
The hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the thing that dumps cortisol into our systems.
Right. And chronic stress physically influences your body. It shifts your physiology away from reproduction and digestion. It fragments your sleep, spikes inflammation.
So how does acupuncture fix that?
By helping calm the nervous system mechanically. It forces the body out of that sympathetic fight or flight state, which leads to better sleep, lower physical tension, and a normalized hormonal baseline.
Which is clinically meaningful, but, all these pathways, blood flow, hormones, inflammation, they sound great in theory. But patients don't walk into clinics as, research abstraction.
No, they absolutely do not.
They have specific, deeply personal diagnoses. Which brings us to the core focus here. Because the source material gives us two highly contrasting examples.
Right. And this raises an important question, because asking, does acupuncture work, is just the wrong approach.
Yeah, it's too broad.
Exactly. The right questions are for whom, when, and in combination with what.
So let's look at those two examples from the text. Starting with the PCOS patient. Say we have a 32-year-old with polycystic ovary syndrome and totally erratic ovulation.
Okay, so for this patient, the issue isn't egg quality in isolation. Her chronological age means the genetic competence of the eggs is likely fine.
Right. The issue is that chaotic endocrine environment.
Yes. The signaling between the brain and the ovaries is misfiring. You get multiple follicles recruited, but the chaotic signals prevent any single follicle from maturing fully. Ovulation just stalls out.
It's like, okay, think of two different cars arriving at a mechanic. The PCOS patient is a car with a major software glitch in its computer. The engine is solid, but the computer keeps misfiring, telling the fuel injectors to flood the engine.
I love that analogy, yes. For the PCOS patient, the focus is on hormonal regulation, rebooting the computer, correcting that inconsistent ovulation, and creating a stronger foundation for conception.
Okay, so contrast that with the other patient profile, a 41-year-old with diminished ovarian reserve, or DOR, low AMH, maybe prior IVF failure.
The strategy here is vastly different. In your car analogy, this is a car running dangerously low on gas.
Right. The software is fine, but the fuel is almost gone. You wouldn't use the exact same tools to fix both cars, even if the goal for both is to, drive cross-country.
Exactly. For the DOR patient, she wants to do everything possible before an IVF retrieval. There is still ovarian activity, but time is critical.
So what's the goal then, if you can't just make more eggs?
The goal isn't to overpromise. It's to optimize the conditions under which those remaining ovaries are functioning. We focus laser target on hemodynamics, maximizing pelvic blood flow so those few remaining follicles get a premium supply of oxygen and ATT-generating nutrients.
Just really meticulously working on that environment over several cycles.
Yes. Because these treatments are so individualized, the timeline of the treatment is just as critical as the diagnosis itself.
Which brings us to the timing.
Right.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Because as we said at the start, eggs don't develop in a few days.
No, follicular recruitment and maturation unfold over months.
So if someone is getting IVF tomorrow, is doing acupuncture today going to change their egg quality? Can you cram for this biological test?
Honestly, no. Beginning acupuncture on the day of an embryo transfer is too late if your specific goal is egg quality.
You can't remodel a house the day before the open house.
Exactly. A serious plan looks at least 3 months ahead to match the biology of follicular development. You have to treat the environment while the egg is actively maturing.
And this requires integrating with Western medicine, right? It's not a standalone miracle cure.
Absolutely not. It is best used alongside reproductive endocrinology, targeted nutrition, customized herbal medicine, and supplements.
How does that look during an IVF cycle versus an IUI?
Well, in IVF, it's heavily front-loaded in that lead-up phase. Then, during stimulation, you use it to manage side effects. And then around retrieval and transfer to help with uterine contractility.
Got it. And for IUI or natural cycles.
You time it with the body's natural rhythm, supporting the follicular phase, encouraging ovulation, and then offering luteal support.
So progress isn't just about waiting for a single lab number to change.
No, not at all. We track progress via cycle regularity, sleep quality, and pain reduction, especially for those endometriosis patients.
Or looking at embryo development patterns in the lab over multiple cycles.
Right. It's about seeing those micro adjustments in the physiological environment.
Which means the goal isn't perfection. It's better support and preparation built around the reality of your specific case.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean? If we recap the core message here, it's that acupuncture doesn't create new eggs or turn back time, but it actively improves the biological environment, the blood flow, hormone signaling, nervous system regulation over that crucial 3-month developmental window.
And that is so relevant to your journey. Whether you are dealing with PCOS, diminished ovarian reserve, or unexplained infertility, you deserve a fertility-focused plan. One like they use at the Berkeley Center that respects the science, acknowledges the emotional stakes, and avoids false certainties.
Yeah, definitely no toxic positivity here.
Exactly. And I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. In Western medicine, we are so often trained to view the body as a machine where a broken part just needs a specific pill to be fixed.
Right, like a broken gear.
But what if we started viewing our health, especially our fertility, more like an ecosystem? If we focus on nurturing the entire climate, the blood flow, the stress levels, the systemic inflammation, how might that shift the way you approach your next medical appointment? Or even just your daily routine?
I love that. Treating the body as an interconnected ecosystem instead of just isolated parts. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep seeking out care that looks at the big picture, and we will catch you on the next one.